The Leak Mound Interpretive Trail is sponsored by the Federal Highway Administration, the Georgia Department of Transportation, and the University of West Georgia.
Hi, and welcome to another Leak Mounds Interpretive Trail podcast. I'm Marcus Topp.
And I'm Jennifer Teeter. If you're following along on the trail, this podcast corresponds to the Preserving the Past panel.
Today we're here at the Georgia Department of Transportation with archaeologists Pam Bachman and Terry Lottie.
When you guys are investigating a site, how does the National Historic Preservation Act affect how you guys avoid and minimize damage to the site during construction projects? I guess, is there anything specific that you guys are looking for at a site in regards to the law?
Yeah, does it rise to the standard that is outlined in the law? The National Historic Preservation Act has criteria for a site being eligible for the National Register. And those criteria just in general are, is it significant and does it have integrity? So we use the testing phase to try to define whether or not that site has data potential, which means that it's significant, and does it have integrity, meaning is it undisturbed, or does it have enough left of it that it maintains its significance. A lot of times we'll do what are called test units, which are square or rectangular, larger test units, which are excavated with shovels and usually done in horizontal layers to kind of keep tighter control on the horizontal and vertical extent of the site. So,
yeah, you're not going to recommend something to move on to a phase 3 if it doesn't have that integrity. I often use an example when I'm talking to kids about archaeology. If you find the arrowhead, as you call it, up here in the first 10 centimeters of a hole, and then your shotgun shell at 40 centimeters in the hole, there's a little integrity problem. And so you're going to, obviously we're not going to restrict the integrity problem to the one shovel test. I mean, we're going to look at it in entirety, but yeah, you don't want any of that. You don't want any of that mixing and any kind of disturbances, that plows it up and redeposits it. We're going to have to figure that out too. But that's the point in which you start asking questions of the site, like Pam was talking about. Okay, is this a woodland Indian site, and what's it going to tell me about the woodland Indians? Not just the woodland Indians in general, but the woodland Indians here. Did they like to live, closer to the water? Did they like to live different types of landforms? That's, we start to ask those questions, because then when we go back to our, organization, we have to say this site is worth, avoiding, or this site is worth testing if you can, go into phase 3 if you can avoid, and these are the reasons why. It's important data, because it's going to tell us this about lifeways, this about, how people had their daily lives, day-to-day lives, and that's why it's important to archaeology and to us. So.
Well, because the criteria of eligibility that are listed for the National Register of Historic Places actually have alphabetic designations, A, B, C, and D. So we're always trying to evaluate sites according to those criteria. Criterion A is what can the site contribute to an understanding of broad patterns of history. Criterion B is, are there any really important people that were associated with the site? Criterion C has something more to do with architecture and the work of a master. Does the site exhibit really particular architecture, craftsmanship, or the work of a master? And then criterion D is the most important to archaeology, because it specifically gets to that data potential category. It says, what could this site, understanding this site, contribute to an understanding of prehistory or history? D for data, and that is what archaeologists are really evaluating in a site. More historian or history focused people will look at A, B, and C, and all sites can be evaluated for all criteria, but you can see how the D criteria kind of specifically gets at what archaeology has to offer for a particular site evaluation or historic property evaluation.
So is that the testing or the phase 2 where we will start asking those questions? can the site answer those questions? And if it can, that's when we need to define to the designers, look, the site's important, either avoid or minimize, and we'll go to a phase 3, which is data recovery.
So depending on the results of your survey at a site, that determines how you proceed with these separate phases 1, 2, or 3. And to find out more about that, check out our podcast, Preserving the Past Phases.
Thanks for listening. The Leek Mounds Interpretive Trail project was done in partnership with the City of Cartersville and Bartow County. Music by Tommy Wildcat.